Jersey Democratic Senator Robert Menendez. My God, Menendez turned heel. They're not booing, they were booing. Yes, that's. He faced his first day of reckoning.
Federal prosecutors allege the former chair of the powerful Senate Foreign Relations Committee conspired with his wife Nadine to accept bribes from a trio of wealthy businessmen in exchange for political favors to help the governments of Qatar and Egypt.
The powerful senator allegedly pressured the Department of Agriculture to help an associate maintain a monopoly on the importation of halal meat to the United States.
I don't mean to get sentimental here, but in what other country in the world can a Cuban-American senator work hand in hand with an Egyptian-born businessman to corner the halal meat market? Living in America. But yes, Senator Menendez is accused of using his access and influence as a senator to illegally help a variety of shady governments and clients. But what evidence do we really have?
Federal agents searched the Menendez home in June 2022, finding over $480,000 in cash.
2 bags filled with $100,000 each.
$100,000 worth of gold bars. Payments toward a mortgage.
The Mercedes-Benz convertible.
Furniture, exercise equipment, even an air purifier.
4 boots stuffed with cash.
Cash even found in the senator's embroidered congressional jacket.
Sacrilege! Cash in the lining of a congressional jacket, which, oddly enough, is reversible. But the money is in his house, and his jacket, and his boots, and his lining, and his pockets. But none of it ties the money to Menendez or Egypt.
The indictment says upon returning from one trip to Egypt, Menendez performed a web search for how much is 1 kilo of gold worth.
Damn you, metric system! I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for your meddling kids and your base 10 system of measurements and weights. There could be a lot of reasonable, benign explanations for why a senator's house would be stuffed with cash and gold bars. Home heating insulation, perhaps, or something stupider?
According to the New York Times, his lawyers now offering a new explanation as to why he had thousands of dollars in gold and in cash in his home. They say that the habit is rooted in traumatic family history.
These are simply my emotional support gold bars. Whenever I am not with them, I get anxious. People respond to trauma in different ways. Now, when it comes to any trial, the first step, of course, and we've seen this play out endless times, finding an impartial jury.
Defense attorneys have proposed asking prospective jurors if they have opinions about people from New Jersey. And do they think that because they are from New Jersey that they're more likely to break the law?
You motherfuckers. You bury one union leader at your football stadium whilst running a human organ trafficking ring through some Secaucus rabbis, and suddenly your whole state is a suspect. You believe this, Tone? Huh? Tone, you believe this? Anti-New Jersey discrimination, that's what it is. So obviously this is shaping up to be one of the more cartoonishly blatant corruption cases in some time. Jersey guy with gold bars stuffed in his jacket and a nice freezer of some halal meats. facts that might speak to the general character of this United States senator.
Menendez has denied any wrongdoing. According to court filings, his lawyers indicate he may try to blame his wife.
Yes, it's those three magic words that every woman is dying to hear. It was her! She did it! You know, I'd feel a lot worse for her if she wasn't also demonstrably a terrible person. But, perhaps, read up on it. Perhaps, I can't explain everything right now. I'll just say this. It's f***ing awful. But perhaps the dumbest thing about this entire not quite believable Real Housewives episode is how unnecessary it all is. You, sir, are an elected official in America's most respected legislative body. It's like a license to print money. You don't need to break the law so cartoonishly when the legal corruption in the Senate is so f***ing lucrative. Which brings us to our new segment, Senator Robert Menendez. How dumb is you? As a New Jersey resident, as a constituent of yours, Senator Menendez, I have to ask with all due respect, how f***ing dumb is you? Promising favors to foreign entities for a little chump change on the side? It's Bush League, when as a U.S. Senator, you can enrich yourself in so many different, let's call them legal ways. For instance, the stock market.
Members of Congress's stock portfolios consistently beat the S&P 500.
The average hedge fund was beating the market at 7%. The study found that the average U.S. senator was beating the stock market by 12%.
The average U.S. senator. And if you think it's because the average U.S. senator is just so smart, this is the average U.S. senator. Tommy Tuberville, an ex-football coach who doesn't know the three branches of government. Oh, but when it comes to the stock market, he sees the matrix. How do they do it? Well, the secret is a shrewd understanding of the intricate interconnectivity of global markets. I'm kidding. They have inside information.
California Congressman, Democrat named Alan Lowenthal, his wife sold shares of Boeing March 5th of 2020. The very next day, the committee on which he serves in the House released a damaging report on the Boeing 737 MAX.
Oh, my God, what timing! You see that? See, the rest of us only find out about Boeing's problems as we're being sucked out of the fuselage mid-flight, just flying out over the wing. You're flying in the air over the wings. Sal! Sal! I don't think they're good. And it happens all the time. North Carolina Senator Richard Burr received a private briefing in 2020 about how bad the COVID pandemic was going to be for America, and he immediately sold off his stocks, saving himself a small fortune. Of course, he had a reasonable explanation.
We wanted to ask you about those stock trades back in February of 2020. The SEC says that you had material, non-public information when you made those trades.
Yeah, look at what I put out.
I did look at what you put out. How is that not insider trading?
I'm so sorry, sir. I wanted to answer your question. If only there was a button that kept these elevator doors open. By the way, for those of you at home who don't have a gold-plated elevator, you can avoid these types of questions yourself just by pretending to take the stairs. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't really tell right now. Let's take the elevator back up. I would do that bit more, but my knees hurt. As soon as I did the first one, because I didn't do it in rehearsal, I did it just now, and I was like, that's not a good idea. That's one of those where you're like, stop the taping and pull me back up. Now, you might be wondering to yourself, how does Congress get away with all this? Well, it may be because Congress is regulated by, let me check my notes, Congress! And it's Congress that has refused to even hold a vote on the bills that have been proposed to ban members of Congress from trading stocks. Because not letting members of Congress insider trade would be un-American. Just listen to one of the biggest beneficiaries of this stock windfall.
Should members of Congress and their spouses be banned from trading individual stocks while serving in Congress?
No, I don't know to the second one. This is a free market and people, we're a free market economy. They should be able to participate in that.
Free market. Excuse me, Ms. Speaker, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm Martha Stewart from the Why the Did I Go to Jail Times Picayune. Why the did I go to jail? But here's the thing. In a free market, everyone has access to the same information. So unless you're going to put all of us on the committees, I don't get it. Now, to be fair, Congress does have rules against corruption. Members of Congress are not allowed to receive what might be viewed as enticements or bribes from lobbyists. No free concert tickets. They cannot accept food, baked goods, sandwiches, etc. It just would not be proper. But in Congress's infinite wisdom, they do allow organizations to set up what are called leadership PACs, where a congressperson can turn political donations from lobbyists into slush funds. A pharma lobbyist cannot buy a senator a panini and some NyQuil. But through the PAC, they can pay for 5-star hotels for Kirsten Gillibrand, luxury resorts for Ted Cruz, and even golf lessons for Rand Paul. It's all in Ayn Rand's famous book, Atlas Putted. It's corruption. Really? That's my literate crowd. I read that in college. Excellent. This is corruption in plain sight. We won't accept gifts, but if I want to have a luxury experience and you would like to pay for it and then join me on said experience where we can discuss issues important to you and your industry, who's the wiser, right? Senator Mike Lee of Utah?
Shortly after this slopeside lunch for 22 friends, we decided to ask Senator Mike Lee just why he's doing this.
Politicians raise funds, and this is what we do.
I just wonder if you like this.
I enjoy skiing. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
From now on, I am ending every uncomfortable conversation I ever have about anything with, I enjoy skiing. Good day. But are luxury lobbying vacations still too much work, Senator Menendez? Because you could always write laws that directly benefit your side business, like the way Senator Chuck Grassley netted $370,000 in farm subsidies, or the $5.3 million that California Rep. Doug LaMalfa got for his gentleman farm. And by the way, for that much money, you better be growing actual f***ing gentlemen. It's all legal and not a gold bar in sight. Or you can leverage your stature in government to get lucrative lobbying positions for your wife and your 3 kids, like Missouri Senator Roy Blunt.
I don't even understand why that would be a question. Everybody's family does something.
My father was a corporate lobbyist, like his father and his father before him. Yes, everybody's family does something. For instance, your daughter might receive unusually green-lighted Chinese patents. Or your son-in-law might receive billions in no-questions-asked Saudi investment. Or your son might get a lucrative seat on a corporate board. Let's hear Hunter explain that one away.
If your last name wasn't Biden, do you think you would have been asked to be on the board of Burisma?
I don't know. Probably not.
Holy shit. Out of all the senators and representatives who dodged and prevaricated and wouldn't answer any questions, you know you're in trouble when the most honest and transparent person in a story of government corruption is the ex-crackhead. Yeah. Now, you might... I don't know if I like Jon Stewart anymore. Now, you might think someone should step in and stop Congress from being able to enrich themselves. Perhaps the Supreme Court. Well, it will come as no surprise that the same guys who think it's fine to accept a luxury Winnebago from a wealthy businessman have made it much harder to police corruption. In a decision called McDonnell versus the United States, they said that the appearance of corruption is not nearly enough for it to be considered against the law. It must be
this very narrow quid pro quo idea. You know, I'm going to give you kind of like a cartoonish sack of money in exchange for an actual vote.
Whilst twirling my handlebar mustache. At every turn, our Congress and our courts have been given a choice. Be less corrupt or redefine what constitutes corruption and get on with your bad selves. It's a game of reverse limbo. Having trouble getting under the bar of corruption we've set? Well, how about now? Robert Menendez's gold bars in exchange for favorable legislation is obviously cartoonishly corrupt. But for anyone out there who thinks the status quo of government patronage and influence is of an entirely different species than Menendez, how dumb is you?
Donald Trump is entering his second month of the trial, and his courthouse is becoming a pilgrimage site for all of his supporters and wannabe VPs. This week alone, we saw Vivek Ramaswamy, J.D. Vance, Mike Johnson, and whoever this guy is. It's like the Met Gala for people who don't believe in women's rights. But of all the people who came out to support Trump, nobody, and I mean nobody, did it weirder than Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville.
First of all, I'm disappointed in the courtroom. It is depressing. That courtroom is depressing. This is New York City, the icon of our country, and we got a courtroom that's the most depressing thing I've ever been in. Mental anguish is trying to be pushed on the Republican candidate for the President of the United States this year.
Mental anguish? This dude spends every day whining about how Gen Z is too woke with their safe spaces, and now he's out here like the wallpaper is giving the president trauma. These fluorescent lights are literal violence. I mean, I'm sorry to tell you this, Tommy Tuberville, but that place doesn't even crack the top 10 most depressing places in New York. Try the sushi case at Duane Reade. Sad. It's very sad. I know, it's very sad. Or the bathroom at Port Authority. Or honestly, anywhere at Port Authority. You'll be begging to be put on trial. But the point is, I'm sure Trump appreciated all of his buddies coming by to cheer him up. But maybe they could just tone it down a notch. I mean, it's kind of hard for Trump to argue that he would never cheat on his wife when there's a line of dudes outside waiting to suck him off. To some local news that's also international news. It's a new public art project that's really building bridges.
Welcome back, everyone. A new art installation meant to bring the world together. It's called The Portal. You see it here on your screen. There are two identical screens with the 24/7 live stream that connect two cities that are 3,000 miles apart. Visitors in New York City and Dublin, Ireland can see each other and interact in real time.
This is so cool. We need more things in our lives that bring us together across different countries and cultures. Let the friendship building begin.
One person in Dublin showed a picture of the World Trade Centers on 9/11. Then a New Yorker went and shared a picture of a potato to make a reference to the Irish famine in the 1800s.
A number of people who were drunk or pretending to take cocaine. They showed their bare arses. One young, very drunk woman, she grinded her backside against the screen.
People are going to be trying to better each other, see who's worse. We're winning so far, so that's good.
Come on, me. Why does everything have to turn into a fight? It's beneath us. And also, you really think you're winning, Dublin? New York hasn't even begun to fight. This is a city built on treating the Irish like shit. Dublin, you're just lucky you're mostly dealing with tourists right now. Let's move that portal to a middle school in the Bronx. Then we'll see what happens. You'll be river dancing into oncoming traffic once our kids are done roasting you. Woo! Sorry. Okay, I'm calm. I got a little sucked in. I'm good. Listen, we can't forget that the vast majority of these portal interactions have been positive. So on behalf of New York, let me extend a heartfelt thank you to Irish people who stopped by to say a friendly hello. On their way to their AA meetings, boom! Got ya, bitch! Got ya. So it looked like today was going to be a quiet day on the campaign trail. It's Wednesday, so Donald Trump had the day off from his porn star hush money trial, which he was going to spend trying to guess Melania's new phone number. But his arch nemesis, Joe Biden, had other plans.
And breaking news just moments ago, President Biden throws down the gauntlet and frankly some shade to Donald Trump, challenging him to a debate.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
I know and moderately like. He ain't scared of nothing besides, natural causes. I gotta admit, there was part of me that thought Joe Biden would be afraid to debate Donald Trump because, debating involves a lot of talking and thinking and standing. But woo! The way that he powered through that 14-second video makes me think he's got this. Now, I don't know exactly why he dropped this challenge now. Maybe he heard all those stories about Trump sleeping through the trial and thought, I can take this guy. We're on the same nap schedule. But come on, Trump skipped every primary debate like it was foreplay. There's no way he's going to accept Biden's challenge.
The former president responded to that video this morning on Truth Social saying, just tell me when, I'll be there. Let's get ready to rumble.
Oh, shit! Yeah, let's get ready to rumble. Make my day. I see dead people. I want you to draw me like one of your French girls. Wednesdays we wear pink. Welcome to Jurassic Park. Yeah, we're making moves now. Biden and Trump have agreed to debate, but they still need to agree on a date and a host. And those logistics don't just come together within 45 minutes.
President Joe Biden and Donald Trump have just accepted CNN's invitation to hold a debate on June 27th. That's just in a few weeks.
Wow. Okay. June 27th. Joe Biden is going to be debating Donald Trump. Yay! I can't wait to watch. Like this. But yeah, everything moved so quickly. Biden dropped that video, and by noon, they had scheduled 2 debates. It's amazing how when they want to do something, they can get it done super fast. That kind of makes you wonder why they don't fix other problems this fast, but whatever. I'll enjoy it. Now, obviously, there are still details to be worked out because even though Joe Biden said, make my day, he really meant make my day subject to terms and conditions.
The Biden campaign wants the debate to occur inside a TV studio with microphones that automatically cut off when a speaker's time limit elapses. And they want it to be just the 2 candidates and the moderator without the raucous in-person audiences that Mr. Trump feeds on and without the participation of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or other independent or third-party candidates.
Yeah, I get where Biden's coming from on this. You don't want crowds because they give Donald Trump energy, and you don't want RFK Jr. because you can't risk losing to the guy with the brain worms. So they have to work out the details. Trump has to agree to Biden's stipulations, and he might have demands of his own, like every candidate gets a get-out-of-jail-free card. Or the debate moderator has to be a lady and she has to kiss them on the mouth like the old Family Feud. Day 18 of Donald Trump's porn star hush money trial was another star turn for Michael Cohen, former Trump fixer and all of Long Island distilled into one man. Cohen is the linchpin of the government's case because his testimony directly ties Trump to the falsification of business records, which, remember, is the actual crime here. The porn star hush money part is just a little thing we keep saying because it's fun. So for the last few days, Trump's defense attorneys have been doing their best to make Cohen seem less credible than a Boeing in-flight safety video. And they have a lot to work with.
Today, Trump's defense has pressed Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer and fixer. The defense has also highlighted some of the various insults that he has lobbed against Trump over the years, painting him as a man out for revenge after their relationship fell apart. At one point, the defense played this clip from Cohen's podcast in October of 2020.
I truly hope that this man ends up in prison. It won't bring back the year that I lost or the damage done to my family, but revenge is a dish best served cold. And you better believe I want this man to go down and rot inside for what he did to me and my family.
Wow. That is an angry podcast. It must be hard to keep that level of anger when you also have to read podcast ads. I'm hungry for vengeance, and also for one of Blue Apron's delicious home-cooked meals. I mean, honestly, I feel bad for the jurors, as if jury duty isn't bad enough. Now they have to listen to a dude's podcast? And who is Michael Cohen's podcast even for? Do the people who hate Trump not have enough content? Is there some guy who's like, I love MSNBC, but it's only on 24 hours a day? And it's not just his podcast. Trump's lawyers are dredging up all the nastiest things he's ever said about Trump, and right in front of his face.
You referred to President Trump as a boorish cartoon misogynist, didn't you? Defense attorney Todd Blanche asked. It sounds like something I would say, Cohen responded. A Cheeto-dusted cartoon villain? That also sounds like something I said.
You referred to President Trump as dictator D-bag, didn't you? Cohen says, sounds like something I said.
Damn! Trump is just sitting there while his own lawyer roasts him. And did you also call the president Mr. Bitch Tits? Yes? How about resting ballsack face? That's a good one. Commander in Cheese Dick. You never said that, but you could. Is that true? Look, I get the defense's argument that you can't trust Michael Cohen because he hates Donald Trump. But to be fair, everyone who's ever worked with Donald Trump hates Donald Trump. At some point, you gotta be like, I think it's Trump. Let's change gears, because Trump's not the only politician on trial right now. There's also Bob Menendez, New Jersey senator and grown-up Cabbage Patch Kid. He's facing corruption charges, and now we know he's going with the Borat defense. My wife.
Lawyers for Senator Bob Menendez trying to shift the blame for his alleged corruption onto his wife.
An FBI search of the Menendez's home in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey in June of 2022 turned up more than $480,000 in cash along with gold bars.
And the Menendez defense suggesting his wife Nadine was responsible for the gold bars found in their home, saying they were in her closet. He did not have a key to that closet and did not know of the gold bars in that closet, the defense attorney said.
This is shocking, okay? This tall blonde woman who lives in New Jersey and has a locked closet full of gold bars is not a real housewife? Andy Cohen, wake up! So Bob Menendez's argument is that his wife was secretly orchestrating a corrupt international bribery scheme and hoarding gold bars in his own house, and he never knew it. And that, gentlemen, is why you need to ask your wife about her day, okay? Ask your wife about her day. Just ask. It's the little things. Seriously, though, the balls on this guy to throw his own wife under the bus. Is anyone buying this? Menendez's lawyers are actually arguing that his wife had the gold bars because she's of Lebanese descent and the Lebanese love gold, which is a stereotype I did not know even existed. Like, doesn't every culture like gold? No one's ever like, oh, I couldn't possibly accept your gold bars. My parents are Canadian.